I think one of the major um, realities everyone needs to look at is sharks live in the water, and we have quite a few sharks within the Hawaiian waters. Um, the vast majority do not harm people, and almost all of the shark bites have been incidental bites where the shark's been more curious than very aggressive. So you don't see a shark attacking someone to try and actually eat the whole person. Uh, this tells me a lot that most of the bites are accidental in nature. The sharks are swimming around. Most times the water is murky or you've got surf up. We've got lots more sediment in the ocean now, so it's not as clean as it used to be. And the fishing, a lot of the areas have been overfished. So the sharks are hungrier and they're more curious and they're checking out more of the things that they normally wouldn't have checked out. So we're going to have to be a little bit more careful, and what we really need to do is we really need to build up the fish population. We really need to start working on cleaning the ocean and making sure that we're not putting so much sediment and rubbish in the ocean. And then I think things will settle down. You know, there's been a lot of speculation. Perhaps there are too many turtles now. Sharks eat turtles. Human mimic turtles in a lot of ways, being on the boards and just flapping in the water with their hands and feet. So I can see a mistake being made by a shark, but I think a lot of this can be cleaned up just by we as humans starting to pay more attention to what we need to do with our ecology, not put as much soil and rubbish into the ocean, and start really not overfishing a lot of the areas.
Would you consider other alternatives like hunting or the fencing that we had mentioned before?
I've been a diver almost all my life. I've been a water person. I've pretty much swam around most of the areas on Maui. And we've never really had a lot of problems with sharks before. I've seen a lot of sharks in the water. They generally don't attack people. And they're generally very respectful of people. If they see something as large as a person, they generally swim the other way. They're not into a lot of confrontation. So I don't think that we're going to have a huge escalation unless we keep acting silly and depleting all of the natural resources and dirtying up the resources, where it makes it more difficult for the shark to determine there. Putting in barrier fences are not going to really solve much of the problem, in my opinion. And I know in Australia they have some barrier areas for swimming areas, but even there they have shark bites and shark attacks. So it doesn't eliminate the problem. We have a tendency of going surfing when the waves are bigger and the water's churned up, and early in the morning and late in the evening when it's feeding time for the sharks. So it doesn't surprise me that there are some accidental nibblings at people. I'm actually kind of surprised that we don't have more of that as the water has become dirtier during the tide changes or during the high surf times.
Do you feel that there's any need to inform visitors when they come, either through the visitor industry or through the hotels, of the proper protocol while going out and venturing out into the water?
I think most people are aware of the fact that we do have sharks in the water, and we do have eels in the water, and we do have other fish and sea life in the water. There have been enough movies about sharks to have almost everyone in the world aware of it. But you're still not seeing a whole lot of shark attacks. And quite frankly, for the number of people that we have in the water these days, the tourists that are in the water now, I mean, we have a lot more people in the water than we used to. So proportionately, the shark attacks are much, much less even than being hit by bolts of lightning. I mean, it's random, and I don't believe it's going to be something that really needs to be worried about to a very large extent.
Now, it has been mentioned before, just the option of hunting sharks and getting rid of the proliferation within the shoreline area. Is that something, can you just say from your opinion or from the administration's opinion, what you think of that, and if you would support or reject that idea?
I personally don't like the idea of hunting sharks because we'll end up with an overhunting. And the sharks serve a very definite purpose in the environment. And indeed, sharks have been overhunted in the past. And it's created a real problem with getting rid of, for instance, whale carcasses. If you don't have the scavengers in the ocean, you don't have ways of getting rid of a lot of the waste in the ocean. So I don't like the idea of overhunting sharks. If a shark tends to be very aggressive and repetitive, I can see trying to hunt down a shark like that. The vast majority of sharks are reef sharks. They're there all the time and they don't cause anyone any harm.
We've had a lot of times where sharks have bitten off the foot, the arm, and the person has lived, and so everybody's just kind of expected that she would pull through.
Right.
Any words of condolence for?
Well, we're very sorry that the woman died very young at 20 years old. It really is a tragic event. It's just unfortunate that she was bitten to the extent that she was. We really do feel sorry for her and for her relatives, and we really do extend our greatest, warmest condolences to them. It was not a pleasant thing, and she's much too young. We'll try and do our best, which is why we have lifeguards at most of the county beaches, areas where we think most people are going to be. And we do have a lot of equipment that we supply with the lifeguards to be able to identify things like sharks. And many times we do identify that when there's a shark in the water and clear the beaches. We'll continue with those kinds of practices because we don't want anyone bitten.